Good morning, people. How are we? New Year's Eve. Happy New Year. Getting ready for it. Right. The reason for this video, I've been sent a couple of messages regarding an interview between, I think his name's Andrew Gold, Heroics, and Mr. Laws. So they're asking my opinion. So I thought, well, I'd watch the video and I'll have a look. Now, before I start this video, it's the first time I've done this. I'm going to be fact checking. So there's no false information. No one's misled. And no one's pushed down the street of misinformation to suit one's narrative. This will be completely factual and honest. Right, so I stumbled across a link, had a look at the video. The first thing I see is the thumbnail, interviewing Britain's biggest racist. So straight away, there's a negative narrative. He's trying to sway his viewers down the centre line path. Now, let's talk about that, Mr. Gold. Let's assume, like you have, that Mr. Laws is a racist. Let's assume that he is. Have you interviewed every racist in the country, if there is racists in this country? Have you interviewed every racist in this country to come up with that fact that you've stated that Mr. Laws is the biggest racist in Britain? No, you haven't. So you're not qualified to make that statement. So that's slander. Secondly, why did you assume that Mr. Laws is a racist? Why did you assume that? Because he wants to preserve his own identity. So again, that's negative and it's false. So you've done that to sway your viewers to sort of almost tarnish this young man. So let's move on. So I've seen that straight away. I know where this is going. So let's move on. During the interview, the first 8 minutes I only watched, you kept referring to you have Jewish ancestral heritage, and then you swayed and went, you're English. So what is it? There's nothing wrong with having ancestral Jewish heritage, and say I'm proud of it. But is it one for now, one for later? Because as the conversation went on, you swung to being English, then you swung back to being Jewish. So I don't understand. But what I do understand is such a thing called the great lie, where certain demographics manipulate the truth and almost tell so big lies that they're never questioned for one's narrative. So I'm aware of that. So then we move on. You kept referring back to 1066 because you was talking about the ethnicity of the English, about immigration. So immigration come in 1066 and it built England, William the Conqueror, the Normans, right? That's fine. But is your historical knowledge of England, your historical knowledge of England, that are only 1066? So what about 1,000 years before? What about the Britons, the pagans? You don't know about that now. Where it didn't involve the Great Lie. You don't know about it. You don't talk about it. All right, so we'll just leave that and move to 1066. Because the Jewish come over with the Normans in 1066. Yes, correct, fact. But did you talk about when the Normans come over, what the command was? A complete genocide of everyone here in England, including the livestock. It was brutal, barbaric. And that's what the Normans done. After killing King Harold, that's what the Normans done. Took out all the livestock. They went to wipe all bloodlines from this country and start again. And that was backed and funded by the Great Lie. But you've got to mention that. And Mr. Laws, your knowledge should be more stronger. You should have picked up on that. Secondly, when Mr. Laws mentioned about the Jewish being expelled from England in 1290, I believe, King Edward, you went, yeah, it was expelled, but it was brought back in the 1600s. You, again, skipped that. You didn't talk about why they was expelled. Why was they expelled? Because of financial and political interference. King Edward expelled them. And they was expelled for about 3,500 years. In fact, it was William of Orange, the King of Holland, I believe, who came back in, who was funded by the Jewish, who come back and invaded, and the Jewish come back. So it's just historical facts that you're missing to suit your narrative, to try and tarnish this young man. So by then, I'd seen enough because I knew what was going on. Now, let me give you a message. The terminology, nationalism, there's nothing wrong with it. It's true patriotic people who just want to preserve their identity. Just because you're of a different skin color or a different ethnicity or a different religion, it doesn't mean that we hate you. It doesn't mean that we won't harm you. Don't be stupid. Put yourself together. We just want to preserve our identity that built this motherland. And the same as a Middle Eastern man want to preserve his, or Nigerian, etc. And that's all it is. So, what the centre line believe in, and then many of them have come up and said it, they don't care if England's 95% of ethnicity, black, for example, as long as they hold the British values. Now, you can't have that because our demographics are dissolving and our identity is losing. So, this is why people like Mr. Laws are standing up and saying we want to preserve our identity. And Mr. Gold and the other lot are centre line producing that. And this is why when you go to rallies, you see certain flags at English rallies. Now, for me, those flags shouldn't be there because it's propaganda. It's creating division between another faith. So, for example, the Muslims and the Jewish, and it's showing like the English are all on the Israeli side. When if you're a true nationalist, you're fed up with all these foreign issues bombarding our streets. Because I am. Now listen to this. I understand Israel's trauma, Palestine's trauma, Ukraine's trauma. I understand it. But it doesn't mean I want to inherit it. Because that's what we've done. And my streets of London, my motherland, have been bombarded with foreign issues, compromising the safety of my people. And this is what we've had enough of. This is what we've had enough of. So Mr. Law's just come out and say it. Say, look, we've been forgiving, but all our empathy and sympathy for Gratian is gone now. It's causing too much harm than good. And that is it. And this is what he's trying to say. So I knew this would happen because the terminology nationalist or nationalist has surged the last year. You've got youngsters coming through with podcasts, commentating channels. Middle-aged men are coming through. And it's good because you will need the wit and the energy of the young, of the youth, and you will need the knowledge, the experience, and the strength of the older men. And that's good. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to preserve your identity. So, for example, if you care about your people, you care about your white identity, your infrastructure, your country, then you are a nationalist. If you understand foreign trauma, but you don't want to inherit it, then you're a nationalist. There's nothing wrong with that. And like I said, just because you're a different religion or a different ethnicity doesn't mean we want to hurt you. That's nonsense. We just want to preserve our culture and our history. And that's what it's about. So, the Centre Line have a mission. I spoke to Simon on Daily Agenda. Channel you should go and watch. Very informative, very articulate man, very knowledgeable. And we said this a month ago. The Centre Line know the true patriots are surging. So they will try and tarnish it because it's going to affect their financial gain. So my beliefs are they're going to pick an individual. Is that Mr. Laws? I don't know. Pick him and try and tarnish him and trip him up to make him look bad, to try and tarnish the rest of the patriots. So me, myself, would never go on a Centre Line podcast because I only have one narrative, and that's to trip you up. And free speech on YouTube, etc. But think about it. Think about it. So if you are going to go onto these podcasts for clout and get your message over, which is good, because Mr. Laws, you've done well. Go on there with strength. Go on there with worth. In fact, Mr. Laws, leave the coat hanger when you jump and give yourself a look of a broader shoulder. Because there's a lot of men and women who I know who have worked very hard and gone through a lot of tarnish to get to where we are today. And people are starting to wake up. So, on that note, it's great to see good, honest people coming and people who are now actually coming forward who are concerned about identity. Now, I'm concerned about our demographics, but people ain't talking about that. How do we fix that? Have children, have families. It doesn't say in any different religious book, in any ethnicity, it doesn't say tell the whites of England not to have children. It doesn't. So there's accountability here to be held. There's accountability. If you want to preserve your identity, then you must stick to your values and your traditions and have children and get back your family values and your roles in this life and produce. Because it's something we're not doing. So, although I'm ready to fight on this side, I'm also aware of accountability. Accountability. And that's important here. So, nothing against Mr. Gold and what he does. You know, I'll get his narrative. It's almost like a big game. It's sickening. It's to me, it's almost like people are running with the foxes and hunting with the hands. You know, but I will make one thing clear before I end this video. I do not have a leader. I do not have a leader. You know, if someone of good knowledge, strong, with a look of intent in his eyes comes forward, then I will back him or her. At the moment, no one represents me. So, like I said, well done, the youngsters, keep going, but just do me a favour as well, you youngsters. Oh, yeah, drop the AH and the Mosey look and the little tashes, you know, because it doesn't work, you'll tarnish it. Like I said, people have just come to the conclusion we've been welcoming, we've opened armed, and things just haven't worked. You know, it's been a negative effect right the way through, right the way through. We're at a stage now as a country that we are importing more than we're exporting. Where 30 years ago we was exporting more than we're importing. So that affects the skilled labour, the cotton mills of Yorkshire, the steel producing of Sheffield, the car building of Dagenham. You know, we had apprentices coming in, learning skilled jobs, skilled young men, working with their hands, working from the ground. And what that produced was strength, enthusiasm, and drive. Now we're not producing, we're importing more than we're exporting. These youngsters now want to go into tech. We're losing that honour, that drive, what manual labour produces. Anyone who avoids manual labour is idle. So many great men have come from the hands of labour, the hard work of labour. And that's what it's about. So there's a lot collectively to talk about moving forward, you know. So, and like I said, the people have to adopt the values again and traditions and be held accountable. There's no good just sitting back moaning. Lead by example. Live your life. Lead by example. Right, anyway, with that, I love you. God bless you. God bless me. God bless this motherland. See you later.